Okay, here we go. Welcome to Ask An Innovator. Today we are diving deeper into our three components, the mind, body, and soul of innovation. Since our inception, this trifecta has paved the way, marked the trail of success in business and in life. These three ingredients, when mixed together in a proper ratio, deliver a dish both delicious and nutritious. There is, however, one fourth ingredient, one factor often not talked about because it makes people uncomfortable. It is simply money. Money, money, money. Let's be honest. Tell me one emotion not tempered by it, a life event not measured to it, or a family member not affected through it. The who's, what's, where's, and why's of money will be today's topic, highlighted by prototype guests, champions of courage, game changers, dream makers, financial advisors, women, a mom, yes, innovators. Amber MacLean, Paige Grant, welcome to the show. First question, what is so great, Amber, about running a business in Thunder Bay?
I would say the best thing about running a business in Thunder Bay is that you do not have to advertise anything. You do one great thing for a person and they will tell more great people.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth is the best thing about Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
Just don't screw it up.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you believe in, having said that, do you believe in the kind of the whole thing where if you say one thing right, one person might hear about it, or you do one thing wrong, 10 people?
Absolutely.
You think that applies to Thunder Bay?
100% it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And Paige?
Actually, being from here, knowing that's why I brought my business back to Thunder Bay from Edmonton, because the opportunity. I mean,
Right.
it just makes sense. If that's the ratio, what we do is so good, I knew we would be successful here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Comparing Thunder Bay to, you're from Edmonton, was where you were.
I was there for 10 years.
There for 10 years, running your business, starting your business in Edmonton, and then moving to Thunder Bay. What is the difference between, say, Edmonton and Thunder Bay?
There's not that sense of community there like there is here. Growing up here, I knew that, and I knew I was going to take it back here once I was ready. But Edmonton is so big that it was almost impossible to have that kind of word of mouth, let's do this without advertising. And when we're talking about money, you need to have a personal relationship with somebody, or it's very, very scary.
Right.
And if you're doing that through advertising, you're not going to get that same humanization, kind of warm, fuzzy feeling around that. So,
Right.
yeah.
That's amazing. Amber, you're a mom.
Yep.
How did you become and get into being a financial advisor?
It was kind of one of those right place at the right time moments. And it was one of those opportunities where it knocks on your door and you need to take it. And thankfully, I had the support of my spouse and we took it full on. And it's probably one of the most amazing things I've done as a mom, because I can actually now transfer the financial literacy into my daughter. She knows that, every time we go somewhere, she doesn't get something every time because things cost money, and she needs to save her money and bring her money and all of those things. And I think it's really great to be able to give that advice to someone, and moms are really good at it because we're very nurturing.
Yeah, that's
most
amazing.
of the time nurturing.
What influence do you think, and your daughter Taya is 3?
3.5.
3.5.
Yep.
What influence do you think you've had on her already, being this courageous innovator, entrepreneur type?
She's probably the most positive, energetic, outgoing person I've ever met. She would probably see a bum on the side of the road and high-five him for being awesome.
Yeah.
She is just radiating energy.
She is.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So Paige, you came from Edmonton. You don't have children,
No.
but you have 25 financial advisors working underneath you.
Yes.
As a young woman. Is it kind of like having kids?
Yeah, I like to say working with me. I wouldn't say my children would be underneath me either. They're working with me. But I have parents, and I have parents who don't know a lot about financial literacy. The reason we moved out to Edmonton was for more money. And what happens, I should say, when you move out west, you make more and then you spend more. And I knew that was happening also in Thunder Bay, but we're not making as much, but we're still overspending. So now I get to teach all my 25 agents that.
So young women, financial advisors, is there a hashtag boss babes happening here? Is this a thing? When you hashtag boss babes, is this?
I don't know. I don't know if we identify with just female babes. I think we just identify with entrepreneurship and
boss.
And
no babes.
Yeah.
No female.
Probably just boss.
Just boss.
Yeah. And,
Right.
and I think it's just about time that females step it up a bit.
Yeah.
Especially in this industry.
So when people introduce you as, say, women in a men's world, which would be the misogynistic world of finance,
Used to be.
Used to be, right. How do you respond to that? Do you want to just be referred to as people in finance? Does gender factor into it? Are you proud that you're kind of creating the new normal?
I don't really have a preference. I don't really care. I'm just a human who's trying to educate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say.
I think it's good that women are actually like stepping into roles like that though.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like women for so long have been kind of pushed to being just a mom or being just a receptionist or just this or just that.
Yeah.
And they should step into the role that they deserve to be in.
It's not scary. It's more fun, if anything. It's more fun. When you do something that maybe only people think only a man can do, and you do it, you impact so many more people.
Mm-hmm.
Men or women, children, doesn't matter who you are, but they're like, okay, well, if that woman can do that, then why can't I? Man or woman, doesn't matter. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm completely inspired, obviously, by the two of you. Now, when you got into the financial industry, was it something that you did part time, or did you just dive in head first? What are the barriers to entry going from a mom and you were in the
I was in fitness.
In fitness before, and where were you?
I was
before?
actually serving, and I was personal support worker before.
Right.
Yep.
So what are the barriers of entry into the financial world? How do you make that transition?
You got to take it really seriously.
Yeah.
Because when you first come in, nobody looks at you as a financial professional. Yeah. So you need to really create that. You need to step up the way you look, the way you talk, the way you act, the way you dress, the way you interact. Because if you don't take that seriously, nobody's going to take you seriously in this industry.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, I mean, especially for young females, and our hair color does have something to do with it, believe it or not. So you have to have a lot of belief in yourself, and you have to be very certain in what you're about to do or what you're trying to do for people, for them to even look at you with any kind of seriousness. But being in fitness, I had that when I started, and all I did is I just switched my vehicle. Instead of coaching people how to eat, I just coach people how to save and how to spend their money properly. So it wasn't too tough for me. It was just that belief in myself.
Yeah, that's great. First impressions, do they matter? Do they count? Do you believe in them?
I believe they count, but I feel like they can also be changed. Because I feel like maybe somebody that got a first impression of me going into finance a year and a half ago, I bet you they look at me way different now.
Right.
Yeah.
You're from Lappy.
Yeah.
Are there many financial professionals coming from Lappy?
Not really, no.
Are you the only one?
They do a
the
lot
Bank of Lappy?
Yeah, they do a lot of Sunday fun days. So then when they run out of money, they come to me to find out how to get more.
Like literally, they actually do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they all come around to me because they know if they save enough money, they can buy more toys.
So would you go as far as saying that you've created a community within the community, so to speak? Financial literacy has kind of opened the door. That impression that you've given them has helped them open up a little bit about it?
Yeah, I think so. I have people like even friends or acquaintances or family members that I never thought would ever reach out in a financial way. They now come to me with their mortgage questions. They now come to me with their investment questions. They now come to me with their insurance questions. Can you look at this policy? And it's really good to see them actually trusting someone, because I feel like sometimes they have a really big disconnect between the person in a suit. So it's nice to kind of bring it down to their level and just say, hey, you know what? We're normal people. We just want to help you get a better handle on your financial situation.
It's not as scary as it looks.
It's not as scary as it looks. Money can be super scary. We're going to throw to the break right now. We're going to come back. We're going to dive a little bit more into financial literacy. We have two bosses. That's it. Just hashtag boss. We're going to dive into financial literacy. We're going to talk about some of the fears that we may have around money. Be right back with Ask an Innovator. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. Ask an Innovator. Amber MacLean, Paige Grant. We're going to talk about financial literacy. The average age of financial advisors. You're clearly, Paige, do you mind telling us how old you are?
25.
25 and Amber?
29.
29. Now, the average age of financial advisors in Canada, I'm assuming, is not 25 or 29 or anywhere in between.
No, sir.
What would it be?
It's actually 67.
67 years old is the average age of financial advisors in Canada.
Yeah.
To me, that means that there is going to be some turnover in the industry.
There's going to be a lot of people left behind.
There's going to be a lot of people left behind.
Not on purpose. It's just going to happen.
They deserve to retire.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. What does that mean to Canadians?
That would mean it's probably going to get a lot worse if you don't have, your advisor with you, or once those clients are carried down, that it may not work for certain people. So the industry is about to change drastically right now, and we need advisors more than ever because of that gap.
What does the average financial advisor mean to the average Canadian?
I would say a sense of security, knowing you can go and talk to your guy or your gal, right? And usually it gets carried on throughout the family, but if the advisors are now in their 60s, that's not going to happen anymore. So I know the industry right now, I think there's only like 60,000 licensed agents within North America for a couple brokerages out there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
So there's going to be a big gap.
Yeah.
What does the what do you think the average Canadian? Do you think the average Canadian has a financial advisor?
Not that we see.
Yeah.
No, but that's why we're here.
And
'Cause I feel like Thunder Bay gets left behind with a lot of things.
Right.
And I mean that's why I moved back here, and I feel like that's happening a lot here.
Why do you think Thunder Bay? Do you think people in Thunder Bay are comparable to Canadians in terms of their financial literacy, or in terms of, say, the advice that they're getting?
I think people are delusional in their financial literacy, actually. I think we have sometimes, and I believe that a lot of advisors sometimes have clients come in that think they know everything. And then when you get there and you actually start explaining it to them, they really had no idea. They think they know how an RSP works. They think they know how a tax-free savings account works. They think they know how proper protection for their family works, but they actually don't know when you get into it.
Right. So you mentioned something, TFSA, tax-free
savings account. Yeah.
What is a tax-free savings account?
So it should actually probably be called a tax-free investment account, because a lot of people are using it for saving for trips when they should be using it for saving for their future. Yeah. It's probably one of the best gifts the government's ever given us. There's contribution limits and things like that, but a lot of people aren't using them to their full potential, and that's really sad to see that go to waste.
Interesting. If you see 100 people in a month, how many out of 100 people know what a TFSA is?
12 to maybe 20.
And this is, you described a tax-free savings account as Canada's gift to Canadians.
Canada's gift to Canadians.
And it's a gift that people don't want, or why do?
I don't know if they just kept the gift receipt and gave it back, but a lot of people really aren't. They're not using them.
They regifted it.
They regifted the tax-free savings account, but they should really be using that to prepare themselves for their future, because you can use that as a great tool in your retirement toolbox. Yeah.
I think it gets discouraging too, because people use it as a savings because it looks like that. But if you go beyond banks, maybe to investment firms, or you do some shopping on your own, which some people don't know how to do, they can be absolutely amazing. So let's say you put in $5,000 in there and it grows to $10,000. All of that money is tax-free.
Wow.
Whereas a lot of people are using RRSPs, things like that, where you are fully taxed.
Yeah, and roughly 15% of the people you see actually know what a tax-free savings account is, and it's such an amazing gift. Why is that?
Lack of education.
Yeah.
It comes back to education.
Yeah, just pay attention in the next 5 days of where you see a TFSA or an RSP advertised.
Right.
Just pay attention for 5 days. And I'm sure you'll see RSP over TFSA.
Yeah, you see RSPs are advertised quite readily. And is it fair to say that for the average person, a TFSA is better than an RRSP? Is that a fair thing to say?
I wouldn't say that, because it depends on the situation. So again, that needs analysis. That is the most important thing when you sit down with a family. And that is understood industry-wide. That is the most important thing. If you do not have one of those, there's no way you're helping that family. You need to know what they want and
so
where they're
sitting. So it's the building
sitting.
block,
Yes.
so to speak.
Yes.
Right, and it has a low barrier to entry. Do you need a certain amount of money to invest into a TFSA, or can anyone just put?
Depends.
Right.
Depends where you go, the company, how you. It all depends.
Yeah.
And that's the toughest thing. So there's those barriers again. Well, if you don't know that, you might feel silly asking, or you don't know where to start. So then people just leave it.
Or maybe you're really excited to do it, and then you get hit with a barrier.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you get hit with another barrier, and then you get hit with another barrier, and you're like, I just won't save anything.
It's really interesting, this conversation right now. So we could sit around and talk about financial literacy all that we want, and we've identified that there's issues with financial literacy, but I've loved what the two of you have done. You've kind of rendered it down to one specific thing, which it sounds like this tax-free savings account, if we're starting with the foundation or the building blocks of becoming more financially literate, it sounds like just starting with something like knowing what TFSA even stands for.
Yeah.
And considering 15% of people, if it's so great and they don't know what it is, wow, it really sounds like we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and something is always better than nothing. You need to make sure at the end of the day, you went to work all day long. You took 10 hours, 12 hours away from your family. Make sure you're doing some of that for yourself and for your future. Don't just give it all away.
Right. So things I've been hearing, I did a little bit of research before obviously our interview. I'm hearing things like the rule of 72 and a FIN number. So maybe let's talk to our viewers a little bit about these. These are also kind of foundational things like a TFSAs in terms of financial literacy.
Yeah. So the financial independence number, so your FIN number, is how much money do you need to start saving today to make it to retirement with a certain amount of dollars to live off of. So if I made 50 grand a year right now and I like that lifestyle, well, what does that look like in retirement with inflation? What years do I want to retire at? All of these things you have to take into consideration. How does one calculate that? Yeah, that's all. You just get overwhelmed and you're like, I don't want to do it.
Right. How does one calculate that? This should be taught in school. You know,
I would say
is this
so.
grade 4 math or?
Maybe not grade 4, but I mean into high school.
Absolutely.
Hey,
high
this is how you save money to buy your first car or something like that. Simple, make it simple.
Wow, and it is true. Get in early.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because compounding interest can take in effect, and that's where that rule of 72 comes in. So if you take 72 and you divide it by your interest rate, it tells you how many years it takes your money to double.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so if you're investing at a 4% return, it's taking 18 years for your money to double.
Amazing.
Whereas if you go in something at like an 8%, it's only 9 years for your money to double. So your money can start working harder for you and compounding a lot faster for your future.
No, I read something interesting the other day, and it said, there's no such thing as a professional parent. Parents aren't told to take an exam. The piece of financial advice that my parents always gave me, and God love them, was just start saving early. And would you say that that's the one piece of advice that parents, for the most part, are? Because it doesn't sound like schools are doing a lot in terms of financial literacy. They're not teaching us really what a TFSA is, or a FIN number, or the rule of 72. Start saving early. And this is what they mean by start saving early. Plan for retirement and compounding interest.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And you can also just plan for life events. If people are doing the right things and they're saving in their TFSA or their RRSP and something drastic happens and they need that money, well, then you have to start over again. So there's also ways around that where you can prepare yourself, right?
Yeah.
And many people miss that part of it, even if they are saving.
And it's important, even if you already have an advisor, you should be meeting with them every 6 months to a year. Because your life changes so fast.
Wow.
And if you're not keeping up with your changes, your whole plan's going out the window.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty financially literate right now. We just hit the trifecta. I talked about mind, body, and soul at the beginning. We just talked about Rule of 72, TFSAs, and FIN numbers. We're going to throw to the commercial. We'll be right back. Paige and Amber are going to talk a little bit about personal development. We talked about fear. We're going to talk about how to face some of the fears of money and what the two of you do in your morning routines to face the fears of the day and the fears of money, if they even are there, in fact. Stay right with us. Be right back. Welcome back to Ask An Innovator. We have some awesome conversations. As you know, regular watchers, what happens on the break sometimes doesn't stay on the break. We were talking a little bit about personal development. TED Talks, there is so much access to amazing personal development right now. The internet is chock full of it. It's one of the biggest hashtags out there. One of the categories within the category is morning routine. Is morning routine a big part of personal development?
Definitely. It sets up your whole day.
And how important is personal development in dealing with money, finance, your clients, your careers?
I think it's super important because when you sit with a family, you're dealing with way more than just their money. You're basically like a social worker for that family. You're saving their marriage, you're saving their life, you're saving their families, you're saving their careers. Because money is one of the things that will tear a family apart. It'll shred it to pieces. So if you can get in there and you can get in there at a good time and help start putting it back together, I think
Yeah.
that makes a huge difference. And if you don't personally develop,
Right.
you're not going to be at a place where you can actually coach that family.
Right. Yeah. Help yourself before you can help others.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Why are people so afraid of money? Why don't we talk about it? What?
Because it causes things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you need to say. It causes
Yeah.
stress like that, and it's always the lack of. So, for example, when I moved out west, right, my parents made more money, but then they spent more money, so it still ripped us apart because there was nobody educating them on how that extra money should be used. So, if that's happening out there, it's definitely happening here. It's happening everywhere. We see it all the time.
Yeah.
Divorce rates are through the roof.
Yeah. It's amazing. So it's remarkable. I mean, it's horrendous that something that's so necessary like money could result in something so tragic, and it has a tremendous effect on all of us. So personal development, Paige, what do you do? What are your personal development go-tos? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What's your morning routine? Personal
development go-tos. Reading's huge. People think you can listen to audio or podcasts all day long. You can, but to really dive into it, I would say reading. And I mean, John Maxwell is an awesome author. He teaches leadership and personal development through stories, which those always stick in your head. Whenever a friend has a good story and you don't know where it's going and then they hit you with a punchline, you're like, oh, I'm never gonna forget that. Yeah. It's just, I feel like it's the best way to learn. So then, yeah, we can bring it to our families, our clients, and be able to maybe take on all of their emotional stress in that moment for them when they no longer can.
Yeah, amazing. Amber, personal development?
Right now, I'm reading Millionaire Mindset, and I think it's amazing because it actually talks about your entire life. Your mind has been programmed on how you're going to deal with money. Every fight that you saw your parents get in when you were a kid, every time you lost $5 out of your pocket or in a jacket, every time you spent too much on something or you didn't have enough to pay a bill or you had too much money and you just blew it on things you didn't need, it programs you to be the exact way you are right now with money. So you subconsciously keep putting yourself in that same situation.
Wow.
So there's a way that you can actually reprogram your way of thinking about money so that you can have a better mindset about it so that you can do better things with it.
Wow. Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. So we talked about the mind, the body, exercise. Is it part of your daily routine?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I come from fitness, so that's easy for me to say. But I actually listen to personal development as I'm training as well. And I feel like it helps me connect to myself better so I can give more. And like Amber said, what are you thinking about all day? What are you manifesting? And if you believe in that stuff, I mean, whatever you're thinking about will come about. That's true in anything. So like if you buy a blue Ford, I'm sure you're going to see blue Fords all over the place because you're thinking about it. You're manifesting that all the time.
Something that's important to you now.
Yeah, so it's the front of your brain, right? So if you're always thinking about, I don't have any money, or I got to pay off my debt and I don't have it, and you're all these thoughts, that's just going to keep happening. So we actually work with people, okay, let's maybe think a different way on that situation. We try anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mind, body, and soul. The soul is kind of the spirit. Spirituality. So we talked about the mind. We got the exercise down on the body. Where does spirituality fit into your life, if at all? And if it doesn't, it's okay.
I think the universe is a great place to put something that you need. Anything you need, put it in the universe, and it'll come back. Every time you're struggling in your personal life, in your business life, in your financial life, put it out into the universe because it's going to take care of you. The more you put out, the more you put in. If all you're doing is putting out negative thoughts and negative feelings about your finance or your body or your lifestyle, that's all you're going to get back. So you need to be putting more and more of that positivity out so that it's all coming back to you tenfold.
Definitely. We have a saying, we say it a lot. Things are happening for us, not to us. And it all depends on how you look at things. And I feel like maybe sometimes Thunder Bay has a little bit of a more negative mentality. And if we can help a couple people even have more of a positive mentality, then I feel like we've done our job.
Yeah.
Great. My all-time favorite question, we got about 2.5 minutes left. This is and I like to try and save some time for it. Best version of this question. What advice would you give to the would-be entrepreneur, the person who's sitting on the couch watching this right now saying, I really want to open my own business, but I just don't have the courage to do it? Get them off the couch and get them out to open up a business. Go ahead.
Mine might sound funny, but this is what has kept me going. It's self-love, belief, and being my number one fan. Because it does not matter what anybody else says or thinks except for myself, and I can control that.
Yeah. I would say it's going to be the hardest, most excruciating thing you put yourself through, but it is going to be way more worth it on the other side.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Would you be able to go back to your jobs after getting a taste of working for yourself?
You couldn't pay me all the money in the world.
I never had a job.
You didn't?
I was an entrepreneur, unemployable. Unemployable, yeah.
Yeah. What would like? So let's build off of that a little bit. We got a couple more seconds. You guys answered those questions very efficiently, by the way. Most people give us about a 5-minute digression on answering that question. That was to the point. Yeah. So
unemployable?
Unemployable.
Horrible student. I showed up though. I worked hard. I cared about it. I just didn't really want to listen to people that didn't have what I wanted. Yeah. So when I went into the job force, the job field, I was like, this doesn't make sense. Nobody has what I want, so I don't like this. So I had my own personal training business. Didn't work out very well. So now in finance, it's working out pretty good.
Yeah.
Don't take advice from someone that you don't want to trade places with.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I'm willing to trade places with you guys. There was actually, it's funny because there was one little segment that we kind of edited, and Amber and Paige were actually interviewing me at one point. So maybe next time we'll have a financial advice column. That might be something like
bloopers
a bloopers, a phone-in blog afterwards. Yeah. So it was amazing having you guys here. I think we dove into some pretty neat stuff. I think the message for the most part is financial literacy. We all could do a lot better with it in general.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's kind of the message is to kind of have a conversation about it and get it out there. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for watching Ask an Innovator.